person in this house today. It's a word for you individually, and it's a word for you as a corporate body. God has the best plan. You may be seated. God has the best plan. Somebody touch yourself and say, God has the best plan.
God has the best plan.
The book of James, the 4th chapter, and from verses 13 through to 17, James, he counsels the men against the foolishness of making plans without consideration for the will of God. Counsels them and says that, you can make all the plans that you wish to make, but God always has the final say in the matter. And so James counsels us to say, if the Lord wills. And oftentimes you will find yourselves, even in your own conversations with your friends or with your families, when you're making your plans and you're saying, I'm planning to go such and such a place. What do you say after you say that? If the Lord will, if God spare life.
Or if God tarry.
If the Lord tarries. Why? Because you are acknowledging that even though I have a plan in place, unless God approves of that plan, it will never happen. And so I understand that even though I have intelligence and I have the ability to have my own desires and to go after my own things and my own plans, I must always submit and surrender to a bigger plan. I want you to know today that for every person in this house, every person that's alive, anybody dead in here today? If you're dead, come to this altar right now. Every person that is in this place today, I want you to understand that for everything that you are pursuing in your life right now, God has a better plan. God has the best plan for your life. When Peter and the others had fished all night without catching anything, what did Jesus do? Jesus came and told them to go out into the deep water and they would catch fish. Peter's plan was to forget to go fishing that whole day. He said, forget it. They were frustrated, fishing all night and couldn't catch anything. They were planning to go home. But when they obeyed God, they found out what? That God had. Okay, you're going to preach with me today. That God had the best plan. Jesus told his disciples that he was going to die. And what did Peter do again? It's always Peter. Peter rebuked the Lord. Can you imagine fast? Peter rebuked Jesus and said, no, Lord. Peter thought that he had a good plan. Peter thought that his sword and that his strength and that his anger could keep Jesus safe. But Peter found out that God always has the best plan. When Goliath saw David coming, Goliath laughed and ridiculed, said that he would feed his carcass to the scavengers of the field. But when that stone sunk into his forehead, Goliath soon understood that God
had the best plan. Yes.
That God always has the best plan. What I need for the church to understand is that God has the best plan for your life. God has the best plan for your ministry. Stop trying to be a hustler. Stop trying to make things happen in your own strength and rely on the supernatural ability of your God. He has a better plan than what you have ever considered. He has a better plan than all of the bank managers. He has a better plan than your employers. God has. Israel sent spies into Canaan and saw the giants that lived there. They made plans to find themselves a new leader and go back to Egypt. They told Moses, you're an idiot. We're not following you no more. Because they saw giants in the land. And they said that in our own eyes we look like grasshoppers. You know what? We're going to build our fair and go all the way back to Egypt. They didn't realize that no matter how big your enemies are, no matter how much things are stacked against you, no matter how many people are coming against you, no matter how much life has ridiculed you, no matter how much life has battered you, God always has the best plan. Am I speaking to anybody today? And so the Midianites, in our text that we read, the Midianites were a tribe on the east of the Jordan, and they began to make systematic raids on the Jewish settlements. The Midianites were a powerful people, and every now and then they would systematically, they would organize themselves, and they would plan raids. Every now and then, you know, just like you have people that raid the same bank or raid the same 7-Eleven, every so often that 7-Eleven gets broken into. And that's what was happening to God's people. That whenever the Midianites felt like it, they were just walking because they were big vulture, and they could just walk in and just deal with them any which way that they wanted. And constantly and often, they would raid the people of God, the Jewish settlements, and they would burn the houses and their fields, and they would kill the people and make up with the produce of the land over and over. And where are you, God, while this is happening? No sooner that they would rebuild their houses, the Midianites would come again and strip it down, burn it to the fire, kill their people. And these raids were especially serious during the harvest season. They would wait for Israel to plant their crops, and when everything was ready for them to harvest it, here comes the Midianites, and they would take everything that they've worked for. Does it sound like anything you're going through? Everything that you have sweat for. Yeah. They would come and they would just take it away. And then the people became impoverished, and they continued to live in eternal dread. They just continued to live in a state of negativity, always thinking that something is going to go wrong. Just like the people of God today. We can't praise God. That's why we need worship leaders to pump us, because we have allowed the trials of life to press us so down that we have lost our hope. It's an unbelievable thing that even in the church of God, people have lost faith in God's supernatural ability